The taking. The cargo ship Veldar's Reach materialized in the outer belt of the Sol system without fanfare. Its captain, a six-armed Krivian named Zethron, had done this run 100 times before. Earth was primitive, unaligned, and most importantly, unprotected by Galactic Council law. Perfect for specimen collection. Scanners show a rural settlement ahead, his navigator Plix chirped, her antenna twitching with excitement. Low technology. No defense grid. Zethron's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The black market paid well for exotic species, and humans were rare enough to command premium prices. They'd take one, maybe two specimens and be gone before the locals even knew what happened. The small farming town of Millbrook, Kansas never saw them coming. 8-year-old Maya Torres was playing in her backyard when the beam caught her. One moment she was chasing fireflies in the summer twilight, the next she was frozen, floating upward toward a shimmer in the sky that her eyes couldn't quite focus on. She tried to scream but no sound came out. Inside the ship, Maya materialized in a containment cell designed for specimens twice her size. The walls were transparent, showing a cargo bay filled with cages containing creatures from a dozen worlds. The fear hit her all at once and she began to cry. Excellent specimen, Zethron observed, recording data on his scanner. Young, healthy, excellent condition. Should fetch at least 40,000 credits at the Terminus Station auction. Maya pressed her hands against the transparent wall, tears streaming down her face. I want my mommy, she whispered. None of the aliens understood her language and none of them cared. The Veldar's Reach jumped to hyperspace 17 minutes after entering the Sol system. They left no trace, no evidence, no clue. Just a pair of small shoes in the grass and parents whose world had just shattered. What Zethron didn't know, what none of the galaxy's smugglers and slavers knew, was that Earth had been under observation for quite some time. Not by the Galactic Council but by something far more dangerous. Humanity itself. The search. Sarah Torres stood in her backyard, her voice raw from screaming her daughter's name. Police officers combed through the property with flashlights as the summer night deepened into full darkness. Mrs. Torres, we need you to come inside, Detective James Hartley said gently. He'd worked missing children cases before. The first hours were critical but this one felt different. No signs of struggle, no witnesses, nothing. The girl had simply vanished. She was right here, Sarah sobbed, pointing at the shoes still sitting in the grass. She was right here. What neither Sarah nor Detective Hartley knew was that 17 minutes after Maya's disappearance, a very different kind of investigation had begun. 300 miles above Earth's surface, the orbital defense station Heimdall had detected the anomaly. Chief Analyst Marcus Webb stared at his screen with growing unease. Run that signature again, he ordered. His assistant, Lieutenant Chen, nodded. Already did, sir. 3 times. It's definitely a hyperspace wake. Something entered the system, stayed for 16 minutes and 43 seconds, then jumped out. Webb felt his blood run cold. The secret orbital defense network had been operational for only 8 months, built in secret after the first contact with the Galactic Council had gone so poorly. The Council had made it clear, Earth was not ready for galactic society, and humanity would remain quarantined to their home system. The problem was not everyone in the galaxy followed Council law. Get me Admiral Cross, Webb said quietly, and track that signature. I want to know where that ship went. Sir, hyperspace tracking is only theoretical. I didn't ask if it was theoretical, Lieutenant. I asked you to do it. Webb's voice was steel. Something just entered our system without permission. Something that clearly doesn't care about the quarantine. We need to know what it wanted. 6 hours later, the connection became clear. A missing child report from Kansas, timestamp matching exactly with the hyperspace signature's presence in the system. Admiral Victoria Cross read the report in her office aboard the orbital station, her jaw clenched. She was a veteran of 3 wars, a woman who'd earned her rank through blood and brilliance, and she'd spent the last year building Earth's first true space fleet in absolute secrecy. The fleet wasn't ready. Not even close. But as she looked at the picture of 8-year-old Maya Torres smiling at the camera, she knew readiness didn't matter anymore. Get me the president, she said. And prep the retribution. We're going hunting. Her aide stammered. Ma'am, the council has forbidden. I don't give a damn what the council forbids, Cross said, her voice dangerously quiet. They took one of our children. That means they've declared war on humanity whether they know it or not. The aide swallowed hard. What should I tell the president about our chances? Cross looked out the viewport at the blue curve of Earth below. Tell him that humanity has one weakness that every alien species is about to learn. We protect our own. And when someone takes our children, we don't negotiate. We don't forgive. We become something the galaxy has never seen before. What's that, ma'am? Inevitable. The auction. The terminus station floated in neutral space, a massive ring of metal and commerce where council law held no sway. Here, smugglers and merchants from 1,000 worlds traded in goods both legal and otherwise. And in the lower levels, in the auction houses where security was tight and questions were never asked, the truly profitable merchandise changed hands. Maya Torres sat in a holding pen with a dozen other captured beings. She'd stopped crying hours ago, her young mind retreating into a numb shock. The translator implant they'd forced into her ear had been agonizing, but now she could understand the creatures around her. First time captured, small one? Asked a reptilian being with sad golden eyes. His name was Soreth, and he'd been a merchant before pirates had taken his ship. Maya nodded mutely. Stay quiet during the auction, Soreth advised. Don't make eye contact. Sometimes it's better to be overlooked than to draw the attention of the wrong buyer. Before Maya could respond, the door to the holding pen opened. Zethron entered with 2 guards, his mandibles clicking in satisfaction. Excellent news, specimens. Today's auction has premium buyers. You'll all find new homes soon enough. Homes? Maya whispered. I have a home. I want to go home. Zethron's translator rendered her words and he laughed. Your home is 3 weeks of hyperspace travel away, child. An unclaimed space. No one is coming for you. Except your new life. He moved on, inspecting his other merchandise. Behind him, Maya felt something break inside her chest. The numbness cracked, and beneath it was something the galaxy hadn't seen from humanity in centuries of isolation. Defiance. Someone will come, she said quietly, though Zethron was already gone. My mommy will come. And she'll be really, really mad. The auction began an hour later. Maya watched as beings were paraded onto a stage, their species and attributes announced to a crowd of buyers whose purposes she didn't want to imagine. When her turn came, 2 guards grabbed her arms. And now, a rare specimen indeed, the auctioneer announced, his 3 heads speaking in harmony. A human juvenile from the quarantined world of Earth. Highly intelligent, adaptable, and perfect for domestic service or medical experimentation. The bidding started at 40,000 credits. Maya stood on the stage, her small frame trembling as alien voices called out numbers she didn't understand. The lights were too bright. The crowd was a sea of unfamiliar faces and forms. She wanted to run, to hide, to wake up from this nightmare. The bidding reached 70,000 credits when the station's alarms began to wail. The auctioneer's head swiveled in confusion. What is the meaning of? The transmission cut through every speaker in the station simultaneously. The voice was human, female, and absolutely devoid of emotion. Terminus Station, this is Admiral Victoria Cross of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are harboring a kidnapped human child. You have 10 minutes to surrender her, unharmed, to my custody. If you comply, we will leave peacefully. If you do not comply, we will demonstrate why humanity was left in quarantine. In the auction house, the crowd erupted into confused chatter. Earth had no fleet. Everyone knew Earth was primitive, quarantined, barely spacefaring. This had to be a bluff. Zethron felt his blood run cold. Something in that voice told him it was no bluff at all. This is Station Commander Vextral, came the response over the station systems. We are a neutral trade station under the protection of. The transmission was cut off by an explosion that shook the entire station. Through the viewports, Maya could see it. A ship, dark and angular, bristling with weapons that shouldn't exist on a primitive world's vessel. And behind it, emerging from hyperspace one by one, came 12 more just like it. Admiral Cross's voice returned, colder than the void of space. 9 minutes remain. Choose wisely. The lesson. The command deck of the ESS Retribution was silent except for the steady beep of tactical sensors. Admiral Cross stood at the center, her hands clasped behind her back, watching the terminus station through the main viewport. Status? She asked quietly. Station shields are holding, ma'am, reported Commander Zhang from the weapons station. But that warning shot took out their main sensor array. They're blind on the approach side. Any response to our demands? Negative. They're stalling, trying to contact the Galactic Council for protection. Cross allowed herself a cold smile. Let them call. By the time the council arrives, this will be over. She glanced at the chronometer. 8 minutes remaining. On the station, chaos reigned. Station Commander Vextral, a veteran bureaucrat who'd never faced military action in his 40 years of service, stared at the human fleet with mounting terror. The ships were crude by galactic standards, but there were 13 of them, and they'd appeared in neutral space as if the Council's treaties meant nothing. "Get me the Crivian merchant," he ordered. "The one who brought the human specimen. Now." Zethron was dragged into the command center 5 minutes later, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Commander, I had no idea the humans would." "Where is the child?" "Still in the auction house holding area, but Commander, we can't simply surrender valuable merchandise because..." Vextral's tentacle lashed out, wrapping around Zethron's throat. "You brought this down on my station. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "They're primitive." Zethron gasped. "They have no fleet. This must be a mercenary operation, some kind of..." The station shook again, harder this time. Through the viewport, they watched as one of the human ships fired a single projectile at a docked cargo vessel. The explosion was contained but devastating. Admiral Cross's voice filled the station once more. "That was your 5-minute warning. The next shot will be targeted at your power core. You have one child in a station of 12,000 beings. The mathematics should be simple even for you. Get the human child," Vextral ordered, releasing Zethron. "Get her now and prepare her for transport. And someone get me a line to these humans." 3 minutes later, a communication channel opened. Vextral appeared on the Retribution's main screen, his face a mask of diplomatic courtesy. "Admiral Cross, I am Station Commander." "I know who you are," Cross interrupted. "Where is Maya Torres?" "Being prepared for transport as we speak." "Admiral, please understand this was a simple commercial transaction. We had no knowledge that the child was taken from a protected world. Earth is quarantined, not protected. And the reason is about to become very clear." Cross leaned forward. "My child is being returned. That is non-negotiable. But there's a second matter we need to address." Vextral felt his blood sacs constrict. "Second matter?" "The merchant who took her. Zethron of the Veldar's Reach. You're going to give him to us as well." "Admiral, I cannot simply hand over." 3 minutes, Cross said. "You have 3 minutes to decide whether your neutrality agreements are worth dying for. Because I promise you, Commander, if I have to come over there and get my child myself, this station will become a debris field, and the galaxy will learn what happens when you take humanity's young." The channel closed. In the holding area, Maya was being roughly prepared for transport when the explosion came. Not from outside this time, but from within the station. Sorith, the reptilian merchant who tried to comfort her, lunged at the guards, his desperation giving him strength he didn't know he had. "Run, small one," he shouted. "Find an escape pod." Maya didn't need to be told twice. She bolted through the door as chaos erupted behind her. The station's corridors were pandemonium, beings running in every direction, alarms wailing. She ran with no idea where she was going, just away, always away. She rounded a corner and slammed directly into Zethron. The Crivian grabbed her with 4 of his 6 arms. "You've caused me quite enough trouble, little human. Time to..." The magnetic grapple hit him from behind, locking his limbs together. Maya fell free as a figure in powered armor stepped over Zethron's paralyzed form. The helmet retracted, revealing a human face. Captain Marcus Reed of the Earth Marines grinned down at her. "Maya Torres?" She nodded, too shocked to speak. "Your mom says hi." He scooped her up with one armored arm. "Let's get you home, kiddo." As they moved toward the docking bay where a human shuttle waited, Maya looked back at Zethron, frozen and helpless on the deck. "What will happen to him?" she asked. Captain Reed's smile disappeared. "That's up to the Admiral. But I can tell you what won't happen. He'll never take another child. Not from Earth, not from anywhere." The shuttle launched 30 seconds before Admiral Cross's deadline expired. As it approached the Retribution, Maya pressed her face to the viewport, watching the terminus station grow smaller behind them. She didn't see the small explosion on the station's lower deck, where Zethron's ship had been docked. She didn't need to. The message. The Galactic Council chamber was a marvel of architecture and technology, a massive sphere where representatives from 400 member worlds convened to debate and decide the future of civilized space. Today it was filled with an unusual tension. High Chancellor Dravix, a towering insectoid whose species had founded the Council 3,000 years ago, rose from his seat. His translator rendered his clicking mandibles into a dozen languages simultaneously. "We are here to address the incident at Terminus Station. A human fleet, operating in violation of the Sol Quarantine Treaty, attacked a neutral station and extracted a specimen by force. The specimen was a child," Ambassador Clara of the Orinthian Collective interrupted, her blue skin flushing darker with anger. "A kidnapped child. The humans had every right to. The humans have no rights beyond their own system. Dravix's voice boomed through the chamber. The quarantine exists for a reason. Humanity is dangerous, aggressive, and not ready for. The transmission interrupted him mid-sentence. Every screen in the council chamber lit up simultaneously, displaying the image of Admiral Victoria Cross standing on the bridge of the Retribution. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice carrying a dangerous calm. My name is Admiral Victoria Cross, and I'm speaking to you against the direct orders of my government. What I'm about to say represents my views alone, but I suspect I speak for most of humanity. Dravix slammed his appendage on his console. This transmission is illegal. Cut the. Your quarantine, Cross continued as if he hadn't spoken, was designed to keep us contained. You told our diplomats that humanity was too violent, too primitive, too dangerous for galactic society. And perhaps you were right. But in keeping us quarantined, you created a vacuum. A vacuum where criminals felt safe to enter our system and take what they wanted. Behind her, the screen split, showing footage of Maya in the auction house, terrified and alone. This is Maya Torres. She is 8 years old. She was taken from her backyard while playing. She was transported across 3 weeks of hyperspace, held in a cage with traffic beings, and put up for auction to the highest bidder. Cross's voice hardened. And according to the merchant we captured, she was the 17th human child taken in the last 2 years. The council chamber erupted in shocked chatter. Ambassador Clara stood abruptly. High Chancellor, were you aware of this? The council cannot monitor every illegal operation in the 17 children. Clara's voice cracked like thunder. 17, and you said nothing to the humans? You maintained a quarantine while slavers raided their world. Cross continued. We have recovered Maya Torres. The merchant who took her is in our custody. His ship's data logs have given us the names and locations of 63 other smugglers who have violated our system's space. And here's what's going to happen next. She stepped closer to the camera, her eyes blazing. Humanity is officially rejecting the quarantine. You can accept this or you can try to enforce it, but I promise you, we will not sit idle while our children are taken. We've spent the last year building a fleet. It's not as advanced as yours. It's not as elegant. But it's ours and it's pointed outward. This is an act of war against the Council. Dravix shouted. No, Cross said quietly. This is a rescue mission. And it's going to continue until every one of those 17 children is home. If that means burning down every illegal station in neutral space, so be it. If that means violating a dozen treaties, so be it. You want to know why humanity was quarantined? Because when someone threatens our young, we don't negotiate. We don't debate. We act. The transmission shifted again, showing the smoking wreckage of the Terminus Station's docking bay. Consider this your warning. To every slaver, every smuggler, every merchant who thinks Earth is an easy target, we are coming for you. We will find you. And we will teach you the same lesson the Terminus Station learned. The image returned to Cross's face, and her expression softened slightly. To the Galactic Council, we don't want war. We don't want conflict. But we will have respect. Our children are not merchandise. Our world is not a hunting ground. And our quarantine is over whether you acknowledge it or not. Admiral, please, Ambassador Clara began, but Cross cut the transmission. The council chamber descended into chaos. Dravix called for order, but dozens of representatives were shouting at once. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others, like Clara, demanded an investigation into who had known about the trafficking and said nothing. In a private chamber overlooking the council floor, 3 beings watched the proceedings with great interest. The humans are more advanced than we thought, murmured Consul Vex Thaz of the merchant guilds. Or more desperate, replied War Chief Krondar of the Talaxian Empire. Either way, this changes everything. If they can field a fleet that threatens neutral stations, they're no longer the primitive species we can ignore. The third being, a shadowy figure whose species had long mastered the art of remaining unseen, spoke in a whisper that somehow filled the chamber. Perhaps it's time we learn more about these humans? Before they teach us lessons we'd rather not learn. The hunt. The ESS Vengeance, sister ship to the Retribution, cut through hyperspace like a blade. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm, reviewing the intelligence her crew had extracted from Zethron's ship computers. Target confirmed, Lieutenant Marcos reported. The Void's Edge Station, Sector 773. According to the data, 4 human children were processed through there in the last 6 months. How many other species? Chen asked. Hundreds, ma'am. The station specializes in exotic merchandise. Chen's jaw clenched. The galaxy she was learning had a dark underbelly that the Council either couldn't or wouldn't address. Well, humanity would address it now. Time to target? 30 minutes, ma'am. Alert the fleet. And send a message ahead. Same terms as Terminus Station. 30 minutes later, the Vengeance and her escort ships dropped out of hyperspace directly in front of the Void's Edge station. Unlike Terminus Station, which had been a legitimate commercial hub with illegal operations hidden in its lower levels, Void's Edge was blatantly criminal. Its shields activated immediately. They're not interested in talking, ma'am, Marcos reported. Neither am I. Chin turned to her weapons officer. Target their shield generators. Fire when ready. The battle lasted 7 minutes. The station's shields collapsed under sustained railgun fire, and a boarding party of Earth Marines swept through the decks with brutal efficiency. They found the children in Sub-Level 3, held in conditions that made the auction house look humane. Among them was James, a 6-year-old boy from Oregon. When the Marines breached the door, he was huddled in a corner, hollow-eyed and silent. The medic who reached him first later said the look in that child's eyes would haunt her forever. It's okay, she whispered, removing her helmet so he could see her human face. We're from Earth. We're taking you home. James didn't move. Didn't speak. Trauma had stolen his voice. Captain Chin arrived as the children were being loaded onto medical shuttles. The station's operators had been rounded up, their hands bound with magnetic restraints. The leader, a slug-like creature named Horks, slithered forward. Captain, please, we can negotiate. We have resources, credits, we can... Can you give those children back their innocence? Chin asked quietly. Horks's translator struggled with the concept. I don't understand. I know. Chin turned to her Marines. Load them into their own holding cells. Set the life support for minimum function. And then we're going to leave this station right where we found it, in the middle of nowhere, as a monument. Ma'am? One of the Marines asked. Let the galaxy find it. Let them see what happens to people who trade in children. Maybe the next slaver will think twice. As the human fleet departed, Void's Edge station drifted in the darkness, its operators trapped in the same cells where they'd held their victims. A distress beacon broadcast their crimes on all frequencies. No one came to rescue them for 3 weeks. By then it was far too late. Back on Earth, Maya Torres sat in her mother's arms, wrapped in a blanket despite the summer heat. She'd been home for 4 days, but the nightmares still came every time she closed her eyes. Mommy, she whispered. Yes, baby? Why did they take me? Sarah Torres felt her heart break for the 1000th time. Because some people are bad, sweetie. They do bad things. The lady in the ship, the admiral, she said someone would come for me. And she did. Maya looked up at her mother. Are the others coming home too? Sarah pulled her daughter closer. Yes, baby. Everyone's coming home. She didn't tell Maya that 2 of the 17 children had died before they could be rescued. That some of the others were so traumatized they might never fully recover. That humanity had found evidence of hundreds more victims from dozens of species, and that the rescue operations had only just begun. She didn't tell her daughter that humanity had, in the span of 2 weeks, become something the galaxy hadn't seen in generations, a force of retribution so fierce that entire criminal networks were dissolving in fear. She just held her daughter and rocked her gently, while 300 miles above their heads, Admiral Cross planned the next operation. There were still 12 more children to find. The price. 3 months after Maya Torres came home, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. High Chancellor Dravik stood before a chamber that was notably less full than usual. Several member worlds had withdrawn their representatives, unwilling to be associated with what was being called the human question. The situation has spiraled beyond our control, Dravik admitted, his mandibles clicking with distress. The human fleet has conducted 17 unauthorized military operations in neutral space. They've destroyed 12 criminal stations, liberated over 400 traffic beings, and in the process have completely destabilized the independent sectors. Some would call that cleaning up, Ambassador Clara said dryly. They've also killed 87 beings, Ambassador. Slavers, yes, but beings nonetheless. They've violated territorial sovereignty, ignored diplomatic protocols, and rejected our authority entirely. And they've brought home all 17 of their children, Clara countered. Can we say we would have done the same? The chamber fell silent. The uncomfortable truth was that the council had known about the trafficking rings for years. They were difficult to stop, operating in the gaps between jurisdictions, and the resources required to combat them had always seemed better spent elsewhere. until humanity decided the cost was irrelevant. We need to respond, insisted Consul Vexthos. If we allow Earth to operate with impunity, it sets a dangerous precedent. Any world could decide to. Any world could protect their children? Clara's voice was ice. Perish the thought. The vote is simple, Dravix interrupted, trying to restore order. Do we enforce the quarantine with military action, or do we formally recognize Earth's sovereignty and end the quarantine? There is a third option, said the shadowy figure that few council members could clearly see or remember. We could learn from them. Learn what? Dravix demanded. Violence? Aggression? No, the figure replied. Priority. The humans have taught us something we forgot. That protecting the vulnerable matters more than maintaining comfortable systems. They've done in 3 months what we failed to do in decades. By force. By will. The figure's voice carried a weight that silenced the chamber. They decided nothing was more important than their children's safety. Not treaties, not politics, not even their own lives. Can we say the same? The vote took 3 hours. In the end, the quarantine was lifted by a narrow margin, and Earth was offered provisional membership in the Galactic Council, pending diplomatic negotiations. Admiral Cross received the news aboard the Retribution, currently orbiting Earth. She read the message twice, then handed it to Commander Zhang. What do you think, Commander? I think they're afraid of us, ma'am. Good. Cross looked out at the blue curve of Earth below. Fear keeps predators at bay. And make no mistake, the galaxy is full of predators. But they know now that humanity is the apex predator they didn't see coming. Will we accept the Council's offer? That's for the politicians to decide. My job was to bring our children home. Cross paused. All of them. The last 3 children had been recovered 2 weeks ago from a deep space facility that officially didn't exist. The liberation had required breaching a military installation belonging to a minor council member world. The diplomatic fallout was still ongoing. But the children were home. Elsewhere in the galaxy, in the dark places where criminals met to discuss business, a new phrase had entered common usage: don't touch the humans. It was passed along like a warning, whispered in a dozen languages, reinforced by the wreckage of stations and ships that had learned the lesson too late. The galaxy had believed Earth was quarantined because humanity was too dangerous to be trusted. They'd been right, but not in the way they thought. Humanity wasn't dangerous because of its violence or aggression. Humanity was dangerous because it cared. In the Torres household, Maya sat at the kitchen table drawing. Her mother watched from the doorway as the picture took shape, a dark ship against the stars with a figure standing at the front. Who's that baby? Sarah asked gently. The Admiral, Maya said. She came for me when I was scared. Sarah felt tears sting her eyes. Yes, she did. Mommy? Maya looked up. Are all the other kids home now too? Yes, sweetheart. Everyone's home. Maya smiled, the first genuine smile Sarah had seen since her daughter's return. Good. Because nobody should be alone and scared. 300 miles up, Admiral Cross sat in her quarters, reviewing the casualty reports from the last operation. 87 dead beings, even if they were criminals. 4 Marines injured, 1 critically. Billions of credits spent. Diplomatic relationships strained or broken. Was it worth it? She thought of Maya Torres's picture, now displayed on her desk, brought by a grateful mother who wanted the Admiral to know what her actions meant. A simple crayon drawing showing a dark ship against the stars. Yes, Cross decided. It was worth every credit, every broken treaty, every enemy made. Because in the end, the galaxy would remember this: that humanity, for all its faults and violence and aggression, had proven one thing beyond doubt. We protect our own. And the price for forgetting that lesson was far, far higher than anyone wanted to pay.